Hello and welcome to Monday Morning Detective, episode 29, the podcast. This is, I'm your host, Gino Scala, and we're going to go back to Moscow, Idaho, where perhaps the biggest news of this entire series is broken as of yesterday. Police, FBI, have made an arrest in the quadruple murder of the 4 Idaho college students. And the suspect's name is Brian Kohberger. He has a residence in Pullman, Washington, where Washington State University is, where he was a grad student in, of all things, criminology. And he resided with his family. His family resides in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is where the arrest was made over Christmas holidays. So, we're going to talk about some of the updates, of course, the arrest, and where I went wrong in my theory and guesses, and potentially where I was right. Because I have no issues in owning up to when I was incorrect and why I was incorrect. So, just to update some things, a few days before the arrest, the police had released the crime scene to a remediation company to clean and salvage, etc., so it can be returned to the property manager. Presumably for rent, but maybe not. They might be holding off. There's not going to be a whole lot of people wanting to rent from there. That I can assure you. But it is a beautiful home on the inside. The outside I wasn't crazy about, but the inside looked pretty nice before the kids moved in. Who knows what it looks like now. And they may just be the property company may just hold it vacant until a TV production or movie production company decides to either purchase it or rent it long term. That may have already been done for all we know, but you can bet there's going to be a made for TV type of movie on this incident. This murder, these murders caught the nation and grabbed it by the throat. No pun intended. But really did hold the nation captivated. So that's that update. It is, you have to hand it to the Moscow PD and to the FBI. While there was a visible change in attitude and appearance and their stance during press conferences over the last couple of days, it seemed to be some renewed energy, renewed confidence. One could attribute to that to being, with family over the holidays, although I pretty much guarantee not many of these guys had any kind of Christmas and won't have any kind of New Year's to even talk about. But it certainly now, in retrospect, certainly seems like they knew for a couple of days that they were very confident in naming a suspect or that an arrest was imminent. Now, the laws of Idaho preclude a law enforcement agency from naming a suspect. Well, let's put it this way. Once they name a suspect or call Joe Smith a suspect in a crime, once that happens, that starts the invisible clock. And that clock is 14 days. And once they're named a suspect, they have 14 days to present the charges in a pretrial motion, pretrial hearing. This is where the suspect is faced with his charges, and she pleads guilty or not guilty. And 99% of the time, they're going to plead not guilty and go to trial and so forth. As a friend of mine, a follower, said recently, now that the arrest was made, this is when the circus begins. And he's absolutely correct in that. He took it further by saying, there's going to be a trial. He's going to be found guilty. He's going to get life in prison without parole. And the trial is going to cost us millions, and the imprisonment is going to cost us millions. And he's right on all that. There's no question about that. Now let's talk about the how they came to this person, and we don't know. There are many questions without answers at this point. The only thing we do know since the arrest is that the white Hyundai Elantra they were searching for was key to this case. And that is a glaring difference from what I thought. And again, that's kudos to them, because they put out that information with the intention of having it be important. How important? They didn't hint. Some people took it as face value, immediate importance. I went the other way and thought it was a red herring. They saw something on a camera from the patrol. They saw a vehicle parked in the background, and it was no longer there. So to me, it just seemed like a loose end that they wanted to tie up. So I didn't put much credence into this vehicle. They didn't call it the suspect vehicle for obvious reasons. Why? Because we just talked about, if you call him a suspect, that starts the 14-day window, and they may not even have the arrest in 14 days. So there could be all sorts of legal problems in those cases. So, let's go through my list of what I thought was going to be the end result, okay? I thought this person was going to be a serial killer, number one. Well, we don't know. We don't know if this was his only kill. These kills were his only criminal activity. I think many psychologists will go on television telling us that they prevented a serial killer because I think they're going to find out that he had no ties to these students, never knew them, never saw them except for that night. And these are signs of a random killing, which would then point to the potential of developing into a serial killer. That's still my premise. Now, if we find out that he was a stalker of one of the girls, or he had classes, or he talked to them about his graduate experiment that he was conducting, a survey, something along those lines, where he did have some prior contact, and then, this, for some reason, he decided to take it out on them this way. Now, that's still a possibility. We don't know because, they're not releasing that information. And we're probably not going to know except through leaks prior to the actual trial. My hope is this guy pleads out, no trial, and all this information comes forward at that time. That would be the best case scenario. Then, of course, we'll see. The one of the other points was his age. He's 25. He's a student, but not at the school that these kids went to, and he's a graduate student, so he's older. These kids were in their 20, 21 range, so he's at least 4 years older, and my prediction was going to be, it was 25 to 55, I believe. That's, it may have been 30 to 55 because that's more in the serial killer range. But age wasn't that much of a factor. If you look at him, he looks a lot older than 25, at least in my opinion. So we'll see. We'll see if his age is accurate. It seems to be. I also stated that he was going to be transient. Well, technically the police are calling him transient because he resides at the school and his home is in Scranton. If he did have a residence, I said it was going to be within 300 miles of the event, and it was within 30 miles. But the press are acting like he's a neighbor of the school. I think that's a little extreme. I don't think he's a neighbor. I don't know how much involvement Washington State and Idaho had regarding their fraternities or their students. I would think they're, completely different entities and perhaps even rivals when it comes to sports and athletics. But I would not consider this him to be a neighbor of this school. I think there's a high probability he never saw these kids before until that night. But again, we don't know. My prediction on the vehicle is probably the most glaring mistake. I did not think it was important to the case. I thought they were just chasing down a lead. And it turns out I was quite wrong on that. It was potentially everything to the case. That vehicle probably started everything that led to knowing the suspect. The fact that he has been or didn't need to be familiar with the residents, again, that's something we don't know yet. I'm still going with the gut that you don't need to know. It's helpful, but you don't need to know the layout of a residence when you go in to burglarize it. Most burglars don't. And when I say burglarize it, in this case, he entered as a burglar and left as a murderer. So I think it was just bad luck on some of the students that, I don't think it was targeted. Let's put it that way. And I think we'll find that he didn't even know there were rooms downstairs. He did not know that those people lived there. I think it's just something he did not know. Again, all those theories about drugs, about the ex-boyfriend being involved, about the hoodie guy at the truck being involved, and most importantly, the person that is pushing the professor, the lady professor, as being sexually intimate with the students and scorned, resulting in her being the suspect, is all bullshit. All bullshit. All very, very wrong. And that person, that internet sleuth, I think she's a student at Idaho. She is getting sued for defamation by this professor, and rightfully so, and she will win. We'll see if she has any money or family has any money. I doubt it. It doesn't seem like that student's, elevator goes all the way to the top. We'll see. But it takes a lot of balls to go out there and name names based on a premise or a suspicion. Now, I kept my theory theoretical. It was a serial killer, unnamed serial killer. Now, to add to that, since now we know who it is and what he looks like and what his background is, it's my personal belief, and I can't wait to find out if this is true. I think he idolized Ted Bundy. I think that's what determined his career, or his potential career, his educational courses, criminology, and the study of serial killers and their behaviors. I think we'll find out that he studied serial killing for years. And let's face it, he looks like a serial killer. Now, can you say that about anybody? I don't think so. Can you say it about me? Do I look like a serial killer? I don't know. I don't think so. But if you look at some of the serial killers, now Ted Bundy is considered, one of the better looking, if not the best looking serial killer in our recent history. But if you look at some of these guys, Henry Lee Lucas and Danny Rolling and John Wayne Gacy, they're not, part of the in crowd. Let's put it that way. No, either am I. I'm merely a troll looking for a bridge to crawl under. But this guy, this Kohberger, is fairly attractive. If he didn't look so damn serial killerish, he's a good-looking guy. And I think he believes, according to to friends and associates, that basically his shit doesn't stink, and he's pretty much of a hotshot. So, anyways, my personal belief that he does idolize serial killers, specifically Ted Bundy. I think that was his reasoning for attending Washington State University, which is basically the home ground of Ted when he worked the Pacific Northwest prior to going to Florida and killing down there as well. So I think there is going to be some emotional tie-in to previous serial killings. That's just my guess. My prediction. We'll say my prediction. Now, as far as the DNA, we don't know. There's some reports that it was genealogical DNA that traced back to him. I don't believe that's true. I believe that's a little bit quick. So we'll see. We'll see how the DNA factored into this. But a lot of these questions are not going to be answered for a long time. So I think you'll not see many news reports. In 14 days, the pre-trial is going to happen, and we're going to get some updates then. But after that, we're going to be on to the next case. And this will, be on the back burner for a couple of years until something happens. Now, personally, I don't think this guy's ever going to see a trial. For two reasons. Either he's going to plead out, or he's going to hang himself or kill himself in some way, or get killed in prison. Those are my two guesses. I don't have a hope either way. If it does go to trial, it's going to be, sure enough, it's going to be televised, and it's going to be highly watched and extremely sad, gory. Again, our hearts and prayers go out to the friends, families, and the memories of the victims of Zina Kernodle, Kaylee Goncalves, Madeline Mogan, and Ethan Chapin. Viciously cut down in the prime of their life. And really, that's something that we have to always keep in mind when we think about this case. But that'll do it for episode 29 of the Monday Morning Detective, the podcast. Again, I'm Gino Scala. Wishing you all a happy new year and a wonderful 2023 to come.